Good afternoon and thanks for joining us for another episode of Hospo Happy Hour, proudly brought to you by Hospo for Life and Warner's Distillery. I hope you're looking forward to another brilliant show of mental health topics today. In today's episode, we will be discussing mental health awareness and support during times of uncertainty with Ben Paris for the first round, followed by RUAK Ambassador Glenn Cotter for last drinks. Let's get today's episode started. Up for the first round today, we have Ben Paris from People Sense by Artius Group. Welcome, Ben. How are you today, mate?
I'm really well, thanks, Liam. And yourself?
Yeah, good, mate. Very good. So tell us more about mental health awareness and support during times of uncertainty.
Yeah, look, certainly an uncertain time at the moment, and having an awareness of mental health issues is paramount, given what we're going through. I just want to say as well, Liam, I do appreciate the opportunity to come on board and talk about something I'm incredibly passionate about as a psychologist. Thank you very much. So look, why are we talking about mental health? Realistically, we know that 1 in 5 Australians, so 20% of Australians between 16 to 85 years are going to have a mental health issue at some point within a 12-month period. So that's the equivalent of 3.2 million Australians in any 1 year. So it is massively. We look at 45% of Australians will experience some sort of a significant mental health issue across their life. So really, if it's not yourself, it's going to be me. And we know that depression is the leading cause of disability worldwide, according to the World Health Organization. So mental health issues are incredibly real. They don't discriminate. You can be old, young, fat, thin, male, female, wealthy, poor. It doesn't matter. But we do know that mental health issues are completely treatable. There are things we can do about them. So to understand the difference between mental health and mental illness, we look at mental health in terms of a continuum. Along the continuum are 4 different states of mental health that individuals could find themselves on at any one time. So there's the green or the healthy zone, which is where you experience what we call mental health. We see that as a healthy, normal functioning. It's an adaptive zone where we cope and we've got a minimal impact on how we're functioning. So we're doing pretty well. We then slide up to a yellow zone, which is more of the reactive zone. It's a common mental health issue, generally reversible distress, and it's having a mild impact on your functioning. And we would hope that most people can stick between sort of the green and yellow zones at any one point in their life. If we start to move up to the orange zone or the injured zone, that signifies a really severe and a persistent mental health injury or illness. And as we move into the red zone, that's where we're talking a clinical illness. So a significant impairment where there might be a medical or professional care that was required at that point. Hopefully we can keep ourselves in that yellow to green zone, but we know by the stats that people do find themselves in that moderate to severe disruption. And that's where we look at that mental illness zone being in effect. When we look at mental health as a concept, it's usually this interaction between 3 different domains or a balance between these 3 different domains. We look at biological factors, so your physical health, any sort of physical or genetic disability or vulnerability that you have. We then look at your social health, so your family circumstances, your support levels, your schooling and your friends. And then there's the psychological domain, so your own coping skills, your self-esteem and self-efficacy, and your ability to interact or have skills to interact with other people. So when we combine those 3 zones together, and if we get the balance right, we arrive at this point of mental health. There's very real factors that contribute to how we do balance our mental health. What we know about mental health is that it is real and it is treatable, but people don't necessarily seek help for when they're finding themselves in that yellow, orange to even red zone on the continuum. We know that stigma and embarrassment stops people from seeking help. So does a sense of being able to trust the professional or that their information will remain confidential. And those, very much, Liam. And we find that particularly in our practice, we really hammer home that it is a confidential service. We don't release your information to other people. For today, in the interest of mental health awareness, I wanted to target really the two barriers there in yellow. So awareness of symptoms. We find that if people don't know what the symptoms of mental health problems are, they don't seek help for it. And this sense of hopelessness. So it doesn't matter what I do, this isn't going to go away. And both of those are really significant barriers for people seeking help.
Yeah.
So let's look at the first one, awareness of symptoms. And if we look at the next slide, I've divided up two of the most common mental health issues that we see in Australia. Mm-hmm. The first of which is depression, which I'm sure all of your viewers have heard of. If not experienced, you would have had someone in your life that's experienced depression, because we know that in any 1 year, 1 million Australians will experience depression. Yeah. And it's more than just low mood, Liam. It's not just feeling down for a couple of days. Depression is a serious illness that impacts on both your physical and your psychological health. It impacts how people feel about themselves, and it can make life really difficult to manage, so even on a day-to-day basis. Depression can be once off, or reactive, so just a single episode, or it can be a condition that recurs throughout someone's life. So it's not necessarily about treating the depression, but more so about managing it, so you're not finding yourself up the orange and red zones on that continuum. In terms of symptoms, very quickly, we look at unusually sad or low usually for a 2-week period or more. You're just not enjoying things you normally would, so that the interest in everyday hobbies or social interactions is just not there. We can feel tired and low, a sense of guilt or feeling even worthless when there's really no reason for that. We see changes to appetite, changes to sleep, and in severe cases, we do see thoughts or actions of suicide. So it is a really significant condition to manage. If we flip the coin and look at anxiety, we know that 2 million Australians experience it in any 1 year. So again, a really high prevalence rate within the Australian population. And anxiety is more than just feeling stressed and worried. We spoke about stress in my podcast last week. This is more a normal response to a situation that would pass once that stress is removed. It's a bit of worry about something that's come up, and it fades away quickly once the event's gone. If we're looking at anxiety in terms of a mental health issue, this is where these feelings are more ongoing, or they exist without a particular reason. So they don't pass once the stress is gone, and it can be really difficult to identify what is causing that anxiety for us. It's a serious condition, so we know that it makes it really difficult for people to cope with daily life. And all the anxiety conditions have this persistent fear of worry in a situation when a lot of people wouldn't feel threatened. So it's outside of the norm. People find it really hard to calm down. You might find that you're just worried or anxious most of the time. You might have recurring thoughts that you can't control. So these thoughts that just keep popping up and you can't switch them off. And other people might find them silly, but they're really distressing for you. Some people have ongoing difficulties like nightmares or dreams recurring about a particular anxiety-provoking topic. And we also find people avoid situations that trigger the anxiety. So we avoid patting dogs if we're anxious about dogs, or if we're anxious about leaving the house, we don't go outside. So it does have a really significant impact on functioning.
I will say though, dogs can be very good for if you're struggling with mental health, dogs can be an actually really good companion.
We are strong believers in that, Liam. Friday Puppy Day at the office is certainly going to be gathering steam once isolation is did. I did a holiday to the US a couple of years ago, and the amount of therapy dogs that were around, or service dogs that I saw in people's handbags and on the trains, it was pretty phenomenal. I think we're a bit behind here in Australia. So, yeah, that's a very crash course in depression and anxiety, two of the most common mental health issues. I think it's important that we then look at, we're aware of them, what can we do about them? Because, again, if you remember the first slide, hopelessness or a sense of there's nothing I can do is a massive barrier for people seeking help. So we look at treatment options, and there's a couple of ways to go about mental health treatment. Firstly, psychological therapy is incredibly useful we've been researching different ways to intervene with all of the range of mental health problems for many, many years. And there's a real science behind it. So we know that there are treatments that do work for most mental health conditions.
Yeah.
Psychological therapy is usually undertaken by a psychologist like myself, or another allied health professional like a counsellor or social worker. And they'll talk to you about your symptoms and your particular concerns. And through targeted strategies, they will come up with solutions to help you better manage your mental health. So keep you in that green to yellow zone. It doesn't have to be lifelong. So you don't have to sit down every week for the rest of your life with a therapist, Liam. Don't worry. It can be as simple as 3 to 10 sessions.
Yeah.
And that can be, a couple of months worth of therapy in most cases is enough. Yeah. And the general principle is we understand the past. So we look at what's happened in the past to better understand the condition you've got at the moment, and how do we then better manage that going into the future. So it's a really scientific approach. In some cases, we'll also look at medication. So that would be either antidepressants or anti-anxiety, or in some cases, antipsychotic medication, usually prescribed by a doctor or a psychiatrist. And we know that some mental health problems are because of a genetic change or a chemical change within our brain chemistry. So medications can help balance out or restore that chemical balance, and it does help reduce your symptoms. Just a caveat, you'd always speak to your doctor about taking medications. They would explain the benefits versus the side effects before they prescribe it to you. And in some cases, a combination of medication and therapy can be the best way forward. An example of that is in, say, panic disorder, where we're treating someone that just can't stop panicking about a particular issue. We might use an anti-anxiety medication to calm that panic down, so we can get them to a point where the therapy is of most benefit. Very much so. And just finally, don't forget about self-care. These basic principles of eat, sleep, move, and connect with others, they are incredibly powerful ways of keeping yourself in that green to yellow zone of mental wellness.
No, certainly are, Ben.
Usually a topic we would condense or probably provide training in across about a day. So to condense that into a 10-minute spiel, I think we've done pretty well for today, Liam.
No, that's great. And yeah, the advice is fantastic. And we're definitely covering all of those support topics in today's show, which is fantastic. Thanks for joining us, Ben. We're going to have you back for your shout in our next segment. And we'll see you soon.
Thanks, Liam.
So we're back for another segment of Your Shout, where you can send us your questions from home, either by email to info@hospoforlife.com.au, or you can send us a direct message on social media. Today's question comes from a viewer in New South Wales. It says, how can I get motivated to push my body when my mind is all over the place at the moment? How can they help themselves, Ben?
Yeah, look, really good question. Motivation is one of those things that can be incredibly hard to build and hard to maintain once we have it. So yeah, not an unusual situation to find yourself in. When I'm working with clients to build motivation, one of the first things I will do is help them identify the costs and the benefits, firstly, of not changing their behaviour, so of not exercising or not moving. And then secondly, identifying the costs and benefits of moving or of changing that behaviour. And what we find, Liam, is that creates a discrepancy between how they're living at the moment or their current state and how they would like to be living in their ideal state. Yeah. And the bigger that discrepancy, the more motivation we have, because those discrepancies are really painful. They make us feel uncomfortable. If I know I should be exercising and I'm not, the more I really dig into that, the more uncomfortable I feel, the more likely I am to change.
Yeah.
And in fact, some of the strongest motivation comes from really high levels of pain, particularly when we're dealing with treating addictions. Someone often will have to hit the absolute rock bottom before they're motivated to turn things around.
Yeah.
So building that motivation is really quite difficult, and that identifying the discrepancy can help. Another strategy you can use is to set really clear goals and make yourself accountable to them. So instead of just thinking, yeah, I'm going to move more, I would recommend they write their goals down. So I want to have 30 minutes of exercise 5 days a week. And they put that note somewhere really clear. So whether that's Some clients will put it on the bathroom mirror or somewhere that they can read it every day. And it helps you stay really focused and clear on that goal when there's a lot of background noise around you. And there is a lot of background noise in life at the moment.
Yeah, big time.
You can keep yourself accountable by telling someone about the goal. So tell your partner, tell your friends, hey, I'm going to do this. And that can make it really a lot easier to stick to your plan. And then finally, just keeping yourself rewarded for achieving a goal. So if you've ticked something off your list, make sure you're reinforcing that behaviour with something positive.
Yeah, definitely. That's some great
advice. Glenn, do you know the best type of exercise you can do for mental and physical health?
What's that?
The one you can maintain. Doesn't matter what it is, but if you're doing an exercise that you can't consistently keep up with, you're putting your energies in the wrong area. So whatever you can maintain is the best one to start with.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's some solid advice, Ben. That's your shout for today. If you have your questions, send them through to us and one of our professionals can answer them. Thanks for coming on the show today, Ben.
My pleasure, Liam. Thanks for having me.
Cheers. Up for last drinks today, we have a very special guest, Are You OK Community Ambassador Glenn Cotter. Starting out in the hospitality industry, Glenn has 25 years experience working in hotels and clubs and in management. He now lives outside Bega down the south coast of New South Wales, and his passion is now helping people improve their mental health. Glenn, welcome to the show, mate.
Good morning, Liam, mate, and a pleasure to be part of it. And you know, as we start, I'd like to pay my respects to the traditional owners of the land where I'm sitting, and that's to the Delajar people down here. I'd also like to pay respects to anybody with a lived experience that's listening, and pay my respect to you and urge you that if anything we today ticks in you a little bit, please reach out, get some help. Talk to somebody. Don't try and be big brave. Ask for some help, mate, because it's so important that we do that. So a pleasure to be part of it.
Thanks, Glenn. So today's episode, we've been discussing mental health awareness and support. Tell us a little bit about the work that you do down the coast.
Okay, well, as you initially said, I'm a community ambassador with the Are You OK organisation, something I've been involved in since 2018 and very passionate about. The Are You OK message, realistically, of asking your mate, are you okay, was something that became very evident to me over a period of time where my own mental health was not good. And the simple prompting from a friend on a regular basis of asking me, was I okay, made me realise I wasn't, and made me realise that I needed just to sit and talk to somebody. And it's that simple, that it's just a conversation. So I work with our local community in the Bega Valley and Eurobodalla area, and it's an absolute pleasure. I also work 2 days a week with Grand Pacific Health down this end as a mental health peer worker, working in suicide support and working with people who have had problems through suicidal ideation or suicidal presentations. And we work in a very simple yet personal program in bringing them back into daily life and just helping them realise that life is good. It's a pleasure again to be able to be part of that.
And I guess from where you're at down the coast, we've not only seen the effects of COVID, we've seen the bushfires, and we've seen how much torment everyone's actually gone through over the last 4 months or 5 months already, and so I'm guessing it's probably been quite a large topic in your community as well, hasn't it?
It has. It's been a subject or a topic or an event that's been happening down here since pretty well up and down the coast since November, December, when a lot of the fires started to impact, especially the northern area of the Eurobodalla, the coast. And from a point of view, it's been happening for us since then, because we've been watching and waiting for it to come down the coast. And even through the December fires up north, a lot of the people down here were saying, well, it's coming. It's working its way down. It's coming. And of course, New Year's Eve, it did hit, and it just devastated the area. and it just kept rolling on for the Bega Valley and for the Eurobodalla. I mean, it rolled on until really the end of February. In that Eurobodalla area and Bega, there's been almost 1,000 homes lost.
Yes.
There was far too many lives lost. And the impact on businesses, especially hospitality, and that's one thing that has been a huge impact down here, but tourism obviously is a major part of what we do. And the bushfires had a dreadful effect on the fact that we didn't have tourism. So many people lost 80-90% of their summer revenue over that period, and was really looking forward to Easter and the return of the school holidays to give us that kick that we needed. And unfortunately, that kick in revenue turned around to be a kick in the guts for so many businesses. And you know, it's blunt to that point. Our major club down here became an evacuation centre over January. They lost $750,000 in January, and which was 80% of the revenue that they were banking on. And again, we're banking on good revenue over the holidays and Easter period.
That's a lot of revenue for a regional town as well.
It's a massive drop. And also too, we had a lot of community festivals and events that would be running. This weekend should be the Narooma Oyster Festival, which obviously is now cancelled. But they're going to do an online and virtual festival, which will be interesting. You can sit and look at the oysters, or ring up and take and order some. But over Easter, we would normally have had the Four Winds Multicultural Festival at Berwick, which is a 3-day international event. That was cancelled. Berwick Seaside Fair, Cobargo Folk Festival, a lot of events that were to run over that period of time to reconnect the community, which was what we were so desperately trying to do after the bushfire period, was reconnect the community. And then in the snap of a finger, we were being told to not connect the community. So it's been and really hard. And, you know, we still have people down here, without sounding dramatic, we've still got people in outlying areas down here living in tents because they're still trying to rebuild from the bushfires. And they're being encouraged to stay away from services to self-isolate. And they don't have those services there to make that a comfortable thing. So it's a focus on just trying to keep a community going at this point in time. So it is a challenge. Our tourism is working very hard to look at how they can reconnect with the outside world shortly. And our chambers of commerce, our tourism associations are working very, very hard to work with businesses, to work with restaurants, to come up with ideas. So it's a challenge, mate, and you know, the whole country is in it, and we just get on with doing what we do because you know, we love where we live and we love our community.
And anyone out there, next school holidays, pack the kids up, pack the family up, and get on down the south coast and support it.
Absolutely, come down the coast. I mean, unfortunately, again, flow on for us is the snow season. Because we are so close to the mountains, a number of our wholesalers and food businesses down here rely so much trade over winter around the snowfields. So it's going to be a challenge there. Quite a number of our local businesses have second businesses in the snow over winter. So they run their snow businesses and then a skeleton staff down here and then vice versa. So it's going to really impact the area. And, you know, we're hoping that we support everybody, we get behind each other and that when the good times come, which they are coming, they will, we're able to reopen and invite everybody back down the coast because we dearly love yous. Just at the moment, we can't have you. It's a little bit like that crazy cousin. You want to see them, but you don't want them around for too long.
I'll move on to my next one, and I think, you know, this is something that's like really close to my heart, and I think, you know, we've all been through, you know, struggles in life, and obviously everyone's having their own struggles at the moment. Where we've probably thought, you know, we're not feeling the best, or, you know, we're not feeling, you know, as bad as someone else might be. But how important it is that, you know, that we shouldn't feel guilty about, you know, reaching out for support, about picking up that phone, whether it's getting in touch with a professional, whether it's, you know, calling a mate to talk to, and that how important it actually is, and how we can really get out there and do that.
Absolutely. And I think, again, over this, especially with the bushfire period, we did see it a lot down here, that you had almost the guilt emotion that, okay, I was impacted by the fire, but I didn't lose my house, or I didn't lose this, so I'm all right. I shouldn't feel, or shouldn't be, you know, feeling that I'm not feeling the best, because, well, I'm still better off than so many people. But at the end of the day, we forget to actually look at our own health, and we have to stop comparing against other people around us. You know, we're a proud, stubborn group of people, Australians. There's no two ways about it. And we've got to admit and accept that it's all right to not be okay. It's all right to ask for help. We so often want to be so stoic. And I mean, look, I'm an old bugger. You know, grew up in that time where you just got on with it. You sucked it up and you got on with it.
It's not just age. When I was in my early 20s, and that late teens, and that it was the same for me. Like, well, you know, and that I'm tough, I can deal with it. It's no one else's problem, and that why should I burden them with the problem? And that was, I actually needed help. I needed someone to go, you need support. And that, and, you know, putting on that brave face every day really isn't, you know, the best medicine to a solution.
No, it's not. And we actually perpetuate the problem with it. Is I know through my period of time of being incredibly conflicted about my own mental health and my own state of mind, was that I was feeling really lost, confused, but would walk out the front door eventually when I could walk out the front door, and was still doing community fundraising events. I was still out there as the face of the community. And in all honesty, I had and still do have a reasonable public image in the area, which I could use to our benefit. But I was also feeling the fact that I'd come home and just fall down the rabbit hole, for want of terminology. So you build up that imposter syndrome that I'm supposed to be out there helping people, you know, I can't help myself. And, you know, in the midst of my darkest points, I was going through the quandary of being nominated for a community services medal for work in the community, and was actually debating with myself and talked to my wife and said, look, I can't accept this because I'm a fraud. Because I'm coming home and sitting in the house for 3 days and can't move. And it took that constant prompting from a friend who would ring me and say, you all right, mate, haven't heard from you, for me to actually realise one day that I wasn't, and I did need to ask for help. And that's okay. That simple acknowledgement that I did need to get help, even if it was just a conversation, was an incredible lifting of weight off my shoulders and off my, you know, soul, to actually be able to turn around and say, mate, I'm not all right. You know, and step forward from there. And it's been a challenging 2 years since that point, but incredibly rewarding, but also incredibly challenging. And I think now I'd probably give myself a probably 80% good level. Still have days where we're not, but to ask for help is a sign of strength. And, you know, it's something that we can do and we should do. And it's really easy to do. It really is.
I think a lot of people need to take that on. I know from a few years ago, I was in a very stressful situation. I could just about say I was just about at the height of my career, and that with everything going in my business, and I hit an absolute hole. I hit a massive slump. I felt lonely. I felt so many different things, and it just kept piling up and piling up. And from being where you are to then go, oh, I need to talk to someone. I want to say something to somebody, and that is even harder because you go, oh, I don't want it to bring down all the hard work that I've done, or someone to think, any less of me, because of where I'm at, what I'm doing, and that. And now I'm coming out and going, I need help, and that. So it was really difficult for me to go, I need to pick that phone up and talk to somebody because I'm going to go mentally insane otherwise. And
That's right.
it was picking up that phone and having a couple of dear friends and mentors, which were like, no, you can call me any day, you can call me every day, any time of night, and that if you need to talk to someone, get it out, and that don't hold it in, and that, and it, you're exactly right. It lifts everything. You literally feel the weight lift off your shoulders, and that. So people out there, never feel scared to speak up, tell people how you feel, and that doesn't matter whether it's in the workplace, doesn't matter whether it's you're at home. Everyone needs to do that.
And it's absolutely so important that we let people see that every day, ordinary people are in that boat. It doesn't matter whether it's our mate next door, or whether it's our local politicians, which we have at the moment, who are struggling with their own mental health because of what they've been through. It's our local, especially at the moment, our first responders and our health service, who are, in desperate need of this support when all this is over. And actually not even now, but in desperate need of that support. So it's just being honest enough with yourself to say, yeah, I do need some help, and it's all right to ask for help.
Yeah.
And removing that stigma that, if I'm not all right, well, then there's something wrong with me. And it's a terminology and a method of conversation that we're looking at now, that instead of asking somebody what's wrong with them, is asking them, how can I help you?
Yeah.
Because to ask somebody, to think that there's something wrong with me means that I must be broken. Well, you're not broken. You just need to have an honest conversation, I guess, and realise that you can ask for help.
Yeah.
An analogy that I was given by a very dear friend in a course that we run was that it's a little bit like the Japanese art form of repairing broken crockery. They use gold to repair the crockery, and that is that can be put back together and become so much more valuable because you can see the cracks in it is the storyline of their life.
Yeah.
So, and if we can continue to help people put those connections back together and value those cracks as storylines of their life, I think it is very much, such a valuable thing. And
big time.
Yeah, and learn that we are fixable, and we come back stronger, and we come back, even better.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, I think, and that when it comes to fixing yourself and making yourself stronger, it's 100% correct. Our last episode of the series that we're doing, I'm actually going to have someone interview me, and that, so we can talk about my life and how I've put myself back together over the years, and that, to give people encouragement as well. And that, but everyone's story, everyone needs to own that. It's you, it's who you are. And
absolutely, and I applaud you for doing that. I think that's a wonderful thing, and it's
no one should ever be scared about talking about how they are or what they do, or and that you can always be open about it. Should never fear. No one should ever fear that.
No, absolutely not. And it was interesting. We did 2 years ago. We did a screening of a movie down here based on survival of suicide attempt, and I was doing some radio promotion for it. And in the interview before we started, the radio host, who again is a friend, said to me, "Are you sure you want to go public and admit that you have had suicidal ideation?"
Mm.
And I said, "Well, if we don't do this, we're wasting our time running the whole event or everything we're doing."
Yeah.
And it was that, well, are you sure you want to do this and let people know about this?
Mm.
So yeah, we do. We need to break that stigma down. We have to let people know it's all right to talk about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely. And I think what you're going to do in putting yourself on the line for the last one, you'll get a lot out of it. It'll challenge you, mate, but you'll get a lot out of it.
Oh, that's right. I'm not scared. It's very pure and very honest. And that we do it across our motivational speeches as well. And to go, well, we're not going to sugarcoat anything here. We're going to be totally pure and honest about what happens and what goes on. When we need to, seek help. It's so important. What are some of the things that you've done to help your mental health over the years, Glenn? We'll finish that as the last question today. Give us some encouragement that, we're all the same.
Yeah, we are all the same, and we have to take time to look at what we really love to do, and especially at this point in time, go back to that a little bit. I'm a passionate motorcyclist. I'm also a passionate photographer, and I've been lucky over the years to be able to combine that in a lot of things that we do, be it going to bike shows and dragging the camera along. And I also have a overwhelming passion for music photography, and I've been very lucky to work with some wonderful musicians over the years. I've got a portfolio that includes shooting locally. We've got a very strong music circuit down here, and I've been fortunate over the years to be able to shoot with people like Chris Isaac, Tony Childs, the who's who of Australian music, Jimmy Barnes, Ian Moss, Baby Animals. And I'm using this time to be able to sit down and actually compile a book. Decided to do a coffee table book, which I've been going to do for a lot of years. But now's the time to do it. And I didn't realise quite how big the portfolio was until I tried to shortlist it and pull a couple of images from each gig down, and realised I've got probably about 110 gigs to pull images out of. Yeah. That's a passion that I'll work on until we're able to actually get back out into the field and stand there with concerts. And the beauty of being able to combine going to festivals and going to gigs and represent mental health there, which we're able to do beside local areas like Headspace and rural mental health, where we all get in and work together. And to get those community events up and running again and just be part of that community. So trying to find things in the meantime, working on a motorcycle event coming up in September that we run. And then we're also working on a large community cricket big day out in conjunction with Cricket New South Wales, which was going to be an event we ran at the end of March as a, support for the bushfires. Now it'll be a support for the whole thing.
The whole year.
Towards the end of the year.
Yeah.
At the end of the year, we'll support the closure of 2020. So just finding that, going for a ride, there's nothing better than getting out on the bike and going for a ride. If you're riding on your own, it's mental health. If you're riding with your mates, it's group therapy. And we're almost allowed to do that again. So, and we're fortunate down here. We live in some beautiful country, whether we're slipping up through the highlands or the mountains or slipping down the coast into Victoria. A chance to jump on the bike, go for a ride, throw the empty esky on the back, go and see the local restaurants, go to the local takeaways. Because there's a great saying with motorcycling, Liam, that if you teach a man to fish, you can feed a family for a day. If you teach a man to ride a motorcycle, he'll ride 250k to buy fish and chips with his mates. So we will find every fish and chip shop or takeaway shop within a 3-hour radius and support it. So we're really looking forward to doing that and getting out and going out to our local restaurants and takeaways and catching up again, having coffee, the things that we took for granted, I guess, was the Saturday morning go for a ride, meet at a coffee shop, and do that. So we're really hanging for that. So in the meantime, we just spend days in the shed, polishing the bike, cleaning the bike, doing the maintenance.
Get it ready.
Or doing the thing that we haven't done. Fixing the doors on the stables, all those things, actually putting the pavers down in that garden bed that we were going to do, but just never got to it. So, yep, the yard's looking good. Getting all the firewood ready for winter because it is getting cold down here. Just starting to appreciate life, I think.
Yeah, you have to just appreciate what you have around you. Yeah, be grateful for what we have. Well, thanks for joining us today, Glenn.
Absolute pleasure, mate.
Take good care of yourself, and good luck with everything in the coming months, and hopefully you can get back out on the bike shortly.
Absolutely, and mate, you take care, and it's been a pleasure to be part of. I actually look forward to watching your episode.
Sounds good,
and see how you go.
It'll be great.
You'll be good. You'll be good.
All right, mate. Fantastic. Well, that wraps up Fast Drinks for today. What a great show full of helpful information today. You can join us back here at 5 p.m. tomorrow for another great mental health topic, and joined by special guest, John McFadden, the Executive Chef at the Alice Eel Group. If anyone is struggling with their mental health and would like to seek a professional, you can reach out to us at www.hospoforlife.com.au, and we can help you with a free one-on-one with a psychologist to get you started. Big thanks to our partners Warner's Gin and Altius Group for supporting the show. Stay strong and stay united in spirit to create a positive change for a healthier industry. I'm Chef Liam Crawley. Stay strong and have a great night.